Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Hermes Breaking News. I am Ita, bringing you the eye on the news we have just received. A very hot news is about the brawl breakout in the street under the boiling sun. On 28 January, a hot-blooded young man was spotted fighting fiercely and eventually created a big commotion. A quarrel has happened, but then led to a battle, which only left a tragedy of two young men laying dead. Those two young men are identified as the first victim named Mercutio, the Montague, and another victim known as the member of Capulet, Thibault. According to our news source, the battle began as two young men tried to incite each other into a fight. Mercutio got fatally wounded and then died in the duel. After that, another young man, Romeo, then revenged Mercutio's death by killing Thibault in the duel. After all this tragedy, the Prince of Verona announced the news of Romeo's banishment from the city. Now, we will go to the scenes of the crime with our local news reporter, Panyarat. So, Panyarat, how is the situation there in Verona?
Thank you, Ms. Nita, and I am now in the city of Verona where a tragedy transpired. The situation right now is very disordered and really awful because there were two men were found dead, and the authority has claimed that those victims are Mercutio from the Montagu and the cousin of the Capulet Thibault. Therefore, without any further ado, let's go and get some details from the eyewitness. So I am now with Mr. Bambolo, who was there when the incident happened. Excuse me, sir. Could you tell us where were you at the time?
Yes, for sure. At that time, I was with Romeo and also witness who saw the brawl that happened between Romeo and Thibault, which has caused big disarray in Verona city.
And another question which is related to the transpired, and this is also the questions where I was curious about. Could you tell us about what has happened and who began it first?
Well, let me tell you about that. At first, I was walking down the street with Romeo to seek Thibault for revenge. After that, there was a contentious conversation between the two. Surely, Romeo was the one who started it first because he was really furious after the death of Mercutio, which struck his mind to kill Thibault with a vengeance. As a result, Romeo had intentionally killed Thibault in place and escaped.
Do they have any grudge before?
Yes, they do. The Montagu and Capulet hated each other because their families had been in an ancient feud. What prompted that made Romeo briefly slay Thibault because he killed Mercutio. Consequently, Romeo wants to take retribution on his friend.
And for the last question, do you think such Romeo revenge is right?
I cannot say if it was right or wrong from my standpoint. Well, Romeo was wrong since he committed murder, but his reason for this kill was revenge, as I have stated. So I probably might not be able to provide an exact answer to this query. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bambolo, for joining us. And after finishing the interview with Mr. Bambolo, we will soon turn your attention back to the interview with the Prince. So I am now here with the Prince, and first of all, it is a great honor to be able to conduct a new interview with you, Your Highness. Your Highness, do you have any preventive to cease or halt the brawl from reoccurring?
As I am the Prince of Verona, I have a big responsibility to protect my people, to secure my city. But the Montagu and the Capulet are sworn enemies for age, and have never seen each other eye to eye. As a result, the fight is never ended and become more escalated. In order to relent that, I used to intervene in the brawl by posting a rule to exile those who caused the problem. But not until today, the problem is still recurring. So, henceforth, I solemnly decided I will strengthen the rule by increasing more security to patrol around the city and sentence a long-term detention to those who caused the chaos, in order to prevent my citizens and my city from getting into another trouble.
What was going through your thoughts when you decided to expel the Romeo from the city?
That is a good question. Thanks for asking. Listening to Benvolio's elaboration about the fight, I can conclude that Romeo killed Thibault just to revenge for his friend Mercutio. And for his skill, Romeo was arbitrarily killing people without regard to law. Although all he was doing was to uphold justice for his friend, but it doesn't mean anyone or anybody on the street could sentence the convict with the death penalty. But as for the sake of the peace, I don't want to see anyone perish again in my city. And one more thing is, Tibal was wrong in the first place. That is the reason why I decided to only exile Romeo from the city, which is severe enough for him.
And for the last question, do you believe that the citizens, specifically the capitulates, are satisfied with this punishment?
I am pretty certain that the Capulet is dissatisfied with the punishment. As you have already known, Lady Capulet also requests me to execute Romeo for killing Tibal too. But like what I have mentioned before, following the law, Tibal was the one who initially caused the problem and started killing people on the street. As a result, Romeo was eager to uphold justice for his friend, which muddled his mind. So, this punishment is fair enough to be convicted. Furthermore, please understand that I am likewise attempting to avoid enraging my citizens and causing further strife between the two enmity families too.
Thank you, Your Highness, for your precious time. So now we have received some important information from Mr. Benvolio and the Prince. Within this, we found it so useful, which leads to what has happened before the tragedy. And that's it for the breaking news. I'm Panyadat, the one and only trusted reporter, and reported for the Hermes Daily. Thank you.
Thank you, Panyarat. Wow, this is a heat topic to explore, and it is not a small problem to ignore. And now move on to the final section of our report. We would like to invite to the two honorable guests, Professor of Psychoanalysis, to consult and analyze the logical behind this event. Hello, Professor.
Hello, Miss Nita.
Hello, Professor. Can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, well, I will introduce myself first. So first, I am Miracle from University of MIT, and today I would like to explain about. I would like to analyze the character of the story. And before explaining the incident, I first would like to analyze the character that related to the scene. First is a man whose name is Benvolio, and he is a Montague nephew and friend of Romeo and Mercutio. Benvolio is the peacemaker who attempts to keep peace between Tybalt and Mercutio. After the death of Mercutio and Tybalt, Benvolio acts as a jurist explaining how event took place. And let's move to the second one. Is our main character of the story, and that is Romeo. The way Romeo killed Tybalt without hesitation and was blinded by hatred. So what Romeo truly are. And after Tybalt was killed, Romeo was regretful and saw himself as nothing but bad luck. Romeo and Juliet's relationship is made even more difficult by Tybalt's death, as Juliet relative and the state turn against him even more. The third one of the character today is Mercutio, and Mercutio is a relative of the Prince of Verona. That is the city in the story, and a close friend to Romeo too. He is strong-willed, argumentative, passionate, and loyal. When Tybalt challenged Romeo and the latter refused to fight back, Mercutio immediately attacked Tybalt. Finally, when Romeo tried to intervene Mercutio, Mercutio is won and died after causing both families for their faulty shooting. His death is a catalyst for the tragedies that follow. And last but not least, that is Tybalt. Tybalt is the nephew of Lady Capulet and Juliet's cousin. Tybalt is always a troublemaker. He formally challenged Romeo, but Romeo refused to fight. Mercutio fights Tybalt instead and is mortally wounded. Tybalt escaped the scene, pursued by a wakeful Romeo, and is laid by his hand. His death is the cause of Romeo's banishment. Plus, Tybalt is an argumentative person when he speaks to any of the Montague family. He fuels the conflict and and rift between the two families. When he sees Romeo for a fight, he is argumentative when Romeo refuses to fight him. I think I have explained everything like all the character in the story already, and moreover I think I already explained their little background. And thank you, Swanita, that is the underline of character.
Thank you, Professor. I have one question. So, as you have already known, we recently report on the brawl. What will be the end if Romeo didn't kill Thibault?
Whoa, what a interesting question. I once thought about that as well. If Romeo did not kill Tybalt, it would have a completely different ending. Like Juliet's parents would probably agree to the marriage proposal in order to end the disagreement. Moreover, Romeo would never be fired, and Juliet and Romeo would not commit suicide. If Romeo had not killed Tybalt, everything would have been alright, and there would be no quarrel. Juliet would not marry Paris, and they would both lie. What a happy ending, but unfortunately, it is just a prediction, and nothing like those happened at all. Thank you. That is all about the question you asked me.
Thank you, Professor Miracle, for your briefly elaboration. Now, I would like to welcome another guest, Professor Ben. Hello, Professor Ben.
Hello, Miss Nita.
Can you introduce yourself to audience?
I am Ben Dover, and I am a professor of psychoanalytics from Masha University.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any logical idea behind this tragedy?
Yes, I actually do have some thought about the scene. In my point of view, the reason that started this strategy is because both Mercutio and Tybalt are arrogant and ignorant. Why? Because Mercutio and Tybalt were both violent. They drew their sword and thought that only strength and bravery can protect their pride, which then result in Mercutio's death. And based on psychoanalytic, both of them always wanted to seem brave and use thought instead of word to prove their braveness, because the society back then favor braveness more than a scaredy cat. Then Romeo spied things up and make it worse by killing Tybalt without hesitation due to his vengeful and aggressive personality. After Romeo slaughtered Tybalt, he regret and said that, I'm a fortune fool, which implied to his unluckiness in being forced to kill his new wife cousin. Then the prince arrived in the scene and acted to repress the hatred of Montagus and Capulets in order to preserve public peace, now still acting to avert outbreak of violence. After the prince's judgment on the situation, a second chance was given to Romeo by his highness, and because he knew that both families have ancient feud and this tragedy is caused by both of them, so he only banished Romeo from Verona with a death penalty, which said that Romeo shall be killed if he is ever be seen in Verona again. And based on psychoanalysis this time, I can say that the prince desire is to end feud and create peace between both sides, and he feared that there might be violent outbreak happen if we judge the situation impulsively. I think that's all I thought about the scene, and yes, thank you for asking the question.
Thank you very much for your participation today's report. So, my sincere condolence to the Capulet and Montagu family. Now, our report has come to an end. Thank you for taking time, turning, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.